I'm new. All right.
All right.
I think here we go. We just went live.
Three. Yeah. Yes, sir. We're live.
I'm just doing it. There we go. These aren't. All right. Good evening. You folks can hear me?
We
Yes,
can. We
sir.
can hear you
All right.
loud and clear.
Good. Have to make sure and just check. Well, so to everyone out there and to both of you, welcome to Power Fridays Live, where our vision is to impact the world through sharing transformation, spiritual growth, and leadership development in business for entrepreneurs. And here at Power Fridays Live, we believe that power and purpose are fundamental components of fulfilling or having a fulfilling life, and that your power has a positive effect on people, and you can influence and encourage people by being in action and creating amazing relationships. And so, what we like to do is interview entrepreneurs who are making a difference to discuss some of their business practices and just let them drop some gems and wisdom on us. And so today we are blessed to have two wonderful entrepreneurs who are an amazing couple, and they are the owners and founders of Brown Boy Brown Girl, and it's a multimedia publishing company. And so they're going to here to share some gems, some wisdom, tell their story, and just bless us with their presence. So I would like to introduce to you Teresa Baker and Dave Baker. Correct?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And let's just jump right in. And for the sake of time and getting the most, let's jump right in and start where you want. Tell me your story. You could talk about a little bit, where you're from and how you got started and came up with this idea. And I went to your website and I really love some of your products and what you're doing and the posters. And I'm definitely gonna pass this around because I know some people, specifically some African American administrators and teachers that are friends of mine that I believe would be interested
Love that.
in these types of products. So I will forward. So yeah, so welcome again to Powers Friday Live, and just where would you like to start? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got this idea and everything.
Okay, well, I guess we'll just jump right on in. We want to say thank you, first of all, for inviting us to be on your platform and to allow us to share our story, our journey of how we started, kind of where we are and where we would like to go, how we want to
Okay.
grow. So we founded Brown Boy Brown Girl in 2015, a while ago. And the reason that we founded this company was because we thought it would be important to really mainstream positive imagery of Black and Brown children.
Right.
During the time, I mean, it's still going on, but we had the Trayvon Martin situations happening, Mike Jones, Sandra Bland. We had all of these injustices that continue to happen in the United States. And what really grabbed me mostly was Trayvon Martin. I mean, all of them, but these were children.
Right.
Trayvon Martin, Mike Jones, a little bit older, but a young, still teenagers nonetheless. And I thought, how heartbreaking, A, that this happened, but B, justice was just, wasn't on the right side. And so, what could we do to really help change the narrative? And so we first started, and then I should just say that I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many moving
Layers.
pieces
Yeah.
to Brown Boy, Brown Girl. First, we wanted to pass down an entrepreneurial skill set down to our children and to leave a
Perfect.
legacy, because I feel like, and I think we feel like a lot of times,
Yes.
um, Black families, we don't really leave a legacy for our kids. And so that was something that we wanted to do. But then on top of that, while we're feeding into our children, we also wanted to impact children that look
In the
like
community.
them,
That's right.
right? Um, and so this is how it all, just kind of starts.
in Metro Detroit.
Yep, in Metro Detroit. And so the first thing was we wanted to spark reading. So how do we do that? We want to find books that are written by authors of color that have characters of color, because we want to make sure that children of color and families of color engage in reading. I know for us, my husband will tell you, he was an avid reader growing up. I read as well, but he is an avid reader. And we believed very early on, even while carrying our children, that we would read to them, even when they were in, when I was carrying them. And so, we found that to be very important. We could see the fruits of that because our kids could, literally, I feel like, not that we've done a study on it, but our kids could really understand and comprehend quite early on because of the fact that we read to them all the time. I found it very hard to believe that some parents won't even let their babies touch the pages of a book. So David would always be, reading in the nursery with the kids at least 3 times a day when they were infants, starting off.
Because I was doing my master's as well at Lawrence Tech University, and so I would read just in general because we wanted to read to our kids and foster that type of skill set in them. My wife's from Flint, and I'm from Ann Arbor area, grew up in Portland, Oregon. And so those type of things where you go into these school systems and the screening process in Portland at Wrigley Elementary didn't catch the fact that I couldn't see well. So I ended up getting exposed to the B class, if you know what I mean. And so that's in first grade. And then I go to a public school, Trinity Lutheran, and then I'm struggling to read. I want to learn how to read, but I'm having an educator that's not, it's not nice. And so that was impactful to me, but I had a parent, right? So that's why parental involvement in the child's education is so pivotal and so key. You said fun with phonics, it worked for me. So fun with phonics and second, see cat run, literally. Right. And then from there, because I wanted to learn and I desired to learn, and I had a parent that's empowering me, right? That's saying you are greater than, you are a conqueror, all these different types of things that allowed me to develop a desire to read. And so that transitioned into our kids and our educational experiences. And I'll let my wife take it.
Oh, no. I was going to say, I was just going to add on that in order to engage parents to read, because one thing that he said that was very important is that, there has to be parent involvement.
Yes.
And so if we could have books that sparked some interest in picking up a book to read to their children. And so in the beginning, Brown Boy, Brown Girl, we literally just blogged on books. And I would find books that were written by authors of color, and I would talk about them because I wanted to first engage Black children to read and families to read. And, books, as they say, serve as mirrors and windows, right? And so it's important for Black children to be able to see themselves. And on the other end of that, we're also helping to amplify voices of colors or Black authors' voices as well by putting those books out there. So that's how, we first started our humble beginnings, basically with a T-shirt that just said Brown Boy, Brown Girl, a statement shirt, and then really just highlighting books that were written by Black authors. And again, we did that, to amplify more Black authors, because as you know, if you are not published by a traditional publisher, mainstream, your books are not out there. Yeah. So we have to make sure in our community that we make these books more accessible. Yes. And that was our part in able to do that, making those books accessible by telling parents, these books are out here. These are great stories too. And so then, over time, we began to grow our business. I shared with you earlier that because we started this business for our kids, we supported the enterprising youth. And so what does that mean? We found youth authors. That's right. I'm like, oh my God, youth authors exist. Yeah. They're out there. And so we would buy books at 40% and sell them on our site, and they got 60%. Yep. And that was how we started really supporting Black authors, but Black children
and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and Black children
awesome.
who were authors.
Yeah. And sorry to interrupt, but I also it says you're a multimedia publishing company. So what exactly does that mean by multimedia? You
Well,
have other formats that you um, have products on and information?
yeah, I said, you know what, and it's kind of hard to explain that because I feel like we do so many different things.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, at the end of the day, and it's not exactly Vision's Disney, Amazon, right? So we started off with kind of like we're taking multicultural books and authors and giving
Mhm.
them a voice, right, in the community and outside the community. We're building a My wife was building a community of adults, and then it started with children that actually had written books, giving our children a chance to go to these not career fairs, but like different trade shows and sell books and develop
Right.
their entrepreneurial spirit and skill set, as well as connecting with community there as well. And then it's pivoted into where we're at kind of today, which is,
Yeah, and that's just say that because we have different platforms. So,
yes,
the one
Okay.
platform is like blogging, right?
yes,
Then other platforms like we know things on YouTube, and what we also want to get into at some point too is just like having our own like series.
Wow. Okay.
So
From
Netflix, here we go.
characters you have developed
so
in the books.
essentially everything brown boy, brown girl.
Okay.
So from like my wife said, we had apparel, we had clothing to start. We have books, we have notebooks, we have school supplies. We're heavily focused on market penetration in the retail space. We have a product that's unique. It has a picture of a human being on the front of it. You look in any retail space in America, and you'll see a picture of maybe of a comic book hero, but not of a human. And so we want to
Mm,
provide positive images of children of color to any and everyone across the country, so that places like Eugene, Oregon, or places like North Michigan or down south, where you may not see someone that doesn't look like you, you're exposed to that. And just like our kids, their kids are 11, 9, and 8. They'll play with anybody. As long as you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. Treat people the way you want to be treated. So we want to show these different things so that when the rhetoric is taught, or the different things are taught, no, that's not been my experience, father or
I got it.
grandfather or uncle or cousin. So an intelligent and practical action to combat social injustice. So we're a social awareness organization too.
I
And
love
we're
that. Here's one of those questions that popped up that's not scripted here.
sure.
What has been your biggest challenge in the creation of your this multimedia publishing company? What has been a challenge for you to get this moving?
Well, I
Oh,
think the challenge for most entrepreneurs, especially, we're experiencing some growing pains.
yep.
I think the
Hmm.
most challenge is always capital because
Okay.
we have
Yeah.
these ideas and ideals that we want to turn into fruition,
Mhm.
but it's making sure that we have the capital to do so. One of the things that David just talked about now is we're in the retail space,
Yep.
and we've seen over time how bigger companies, when they see that there's something more, lucrative
Try to take
that smaller companies come out with, they step in
it.
and they could make that same product, for pennies on the dollar.
Mhm.
And so I think the one thing that I'm very conscious of is making sure that we can stay competitive
Yes.
and making sure that we're keeping these other businesses honest. Me, 5 Star. I mean, we have been Black since the beginning of time, and we've never really seen any products
True. Yep.
that really
Reflect or
reflect
resonate with.
Got it.
yeah, our population of people, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
for us now it's just penetration,
Market
and
penetration.
then
Yes.
really just getting the brand awareness out there. I think now we've kind of found what it is that we're here's the thing. When we first started, people were like, who I knew, what's brown boy, brown girl, what is it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, you know what, you can't really put us in a box. And the reason why
Right.
you can't put us in the box is because there are so many things that we want to do to impact our community that there's so many moving pieces. um yes, we want to at some point get into the movies. It's just like
Yep.
before, this model that you see, but it doesn't always cater to children of color. We
Yes.
have books. Well, we want to turn those books into cartoons,
Yes.
right? So that's the other part. Then we want to turn our characters into toys, into
Into dolls.
dolls.
That's right. And then
So
I
we're
love
working
it.
on that.
Love it. Yes.
We have a
Would
Josie
one of
doll
There's
that
this,
should
would
be
the
coming out.
Josie doll? That's the one that's going to be
Yep,
a character
yep.
in the
Because we have a
series
book.
around that. And
We
tell me
have a
about the
book.
book
I like
that
to
you
have a
wrote about
series.
the book about with Josie. Tell me about that book.
Yeah, sure. So Josie's Bedazzled Shoes, sorry, was created in mind with my daughter in mind, actually.
Her name
uh,
Josie.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, her
Ah,
name is
okay,
Lydia. Her name
Well,
isn't
no,
Josie,
her
but
name's Lydia, but
okay.
yeah.
the shoes, and I don't even have the cover with me, and I should have had that. But my best friend had purchased our daughter some really, really cute shoes when she was about 2 or 3 years old.
Hmm.
And so I've had those shoes, and the inspiration, like I said before, there weren't many books of characters of color in them, right? When I was doing these reviews.
Yeah.
And so I decided to write a story too. And
Mm.
so that was how that started. I said, well, I want to write a book. And my mother is a beautiful, beautiful writer. And I did ask her, would she come on this journey with me to write this book? And she said, sure. At first she wasn't for sure. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I'll research everything. And so I did that.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was very important to have a creative story. Um, and making sure that we also have a message in that story. But we
Okay.
wanted to still spark imagination. Again, books serve as mirrors and windows, and we wanted any child who read that book to be able to identify with Josie. So Josie is in a new environment. She's at a new school. She's trying to understand how to fit in because she's very family oriented, but she's a little bit shy. And so I was able to take Josie's character and kind of imitate my daughter's personality at the time.
Awesome.
That was how I was able to identify how Josie was going to be. But her pair of shoes served as an icebreaker for her to actually meet new friends. And so that's the point of the book. And I've had so many different people give me their spin because I never even thought about that book falling into the category of bullying, right? Anti-bullying.
Hmm.
But it's true because a lot of times, and I think the book teaches children, hey, if there's somebody that's new, invite them into your circle.
Yeah.
And then for new children, we want you to rely um, on you. We want you to be able to say, okay, I am worthy of having these friendships. Let me go out and also introduce myself and just see, kind of what happens. And then that's kind of like what Josie did. She started to assert herself in circles that she would not have done so without the guidance of her mother.
Oh wow. Okay, that sounds like a very interesting story concept that I could see it moving into a series and other
Yes.
marketing things. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, because
Um,
the doll's next. So
okay. I
this,
saw you had some dolls on your site now, don't you? Have
yeah,
some
So
on
Josie
that's Josie doll.
is the
yeah.
doll, and then she's the 18-inch doll that my daughter or that our daughter in the picture is holding.
Yeah.
So we're looking to put her into production. So we're starting to take pre-orders. I think all we need is like 50 or 25 orders to actually put her into production.
Okay.
So having a platform like yours, when we talk about the challenges and the barriers, this allows us to kind of overcome that because it gives us a more opportunity to tell our story and to get our product out there so that we can start to gain even more and more support.
More traction.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that we can continue to supply the market with different options.
And so it's understood too. Josie's Bedazzled Shoes is, we were published under Brown Boy Brown Girl. It is Lexile certified, so it can be sold within school systems.
Mhm.
It's at
Wow.
several libraries now. So my wife learned all these things. She wasn't a traditional stay-at-home mom. She had a skill set. She was a professional. She worked in Flint inside
Lansing.
in Lansing as well, and a legislator as a lobbyist. And so her skill set allowed her to, and her creativity allowed her to find a way to turn our business into a publishing company, an indie publishing company, right? By securing 10 ISBN numbers and assigning it to the business. And so,
Wow. Okay.
and at the end of the day, a lot of people don't know that, right? But hey, We are
I like
distorted
it.
because of lack of knowledge. And so what we want to do is we want to proliferate information to people. We want to educate people. And more importantly, we want to provide products that have positive images for our people and help us to self-actualize ourselves and see ourselves. Because I think if you take any 10 kids in this country and you sit them down, and it doesn't matter the race or nationality, and you ask who's going to be the most successful person, and you put a black person, a brown person, and a Caucasian person, or a white person there, they're going to gravitate towards a white person because of the imagery that they see as a child, and they're constantly inundated with that imagery. So how do you get around that? You got to show yourself and other things, and that's how we're doing it with.
I love that.
Yeah, and the thing though too is that we're looking to normalize characters of color that are found in books, shelves, toys, school supplies,
You name it.
and so and then we want other companies to embrace us. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't have other companies come out with what we're doing, but at the same time, it's also important to make sure that we Black entrepreneurs are supported. One of the things, another challenge that you talked about, or when you asked, what comes to mind is now that we are in this place, and a lot of Black entrepreneurs are now in this space because we had a pandemic. The injustice didn't just start, but the pandemic actually forced people to see what was happening. There wasn't anywhere that they could go. And so corporate America and all of these retailers are pledging now, right, to have to do more business with people of color. And that's all fine and dandy. But once we get there, we still have to have that support. And that's the thing, you can't just get us there because we have to stay there, right? And in order to stay there, we have to have the capital so that we can continue to market ourselves, get people in through the door so that they can see that our products are worthy of being on the same shelves as any other product that's out there.
Got it. I love that. I have a question. When I was looking through your website, I saw under a section said something about what we believe. You had your mission statement, all that stuff. Where I saw a little blurb about self-love and community partnership, right? And so I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm a life coach. Is one of my things I do. And what I noticed in working with people is that one of my programs, because I noticed this, I start the program out with the beginning, the first week in the chapter is about self-love, because I see how important it is for all individuals, specifically us, African Americans, to develop that self-love, because as you mentioned, a lot of the images that we see out there in the world don't reflect us. So it can have us believing that we are less than, inferior, not worthy. So what's the best secret or best thing you've learned that you can share with our viewers about how to instill self-love in children? Is there something you can share about you've seen that has been working effective? Because I think that's a big missing in our communities.
Well, I can say this just from experience. Having parental involvement, a parent that reassures you that you are enough.
That's it.
And then just being able to see somebody in the world that looks like you somewhere. So for me, it's a little different because I am African American, and growing up, most people or kids my age couldn't see that, and actually some adults could not see that. No, my parents are not white. They're not biracial. I'm not biracial. Both of my parents are African American, and I had a real problem with my skin tone.
Okay.
So when we talk about brown boy, brown girl, it's not also just about whites accepting brown children. It also addresses colorism within the Black community, because it's about teaching children to love
who you are,
all brown skin, and to accept all people who are brown. And my brown is not the same as my husband's brown, but I should still be proud of my brown. And on the other side of that, a child who sees a child like my son shouldn't question his Blackness. And so it's important to put that education out there that we come in all shades and from the fairest of fair to the darkest of dark. All brown skin should be appreciated and loved. And that's where that concept comes from. So my mother has always told me, be proud of who you are, right?
Right.
And so for me, when I'm buying dolls, one of my favorite dolls was Joe Angel. He was a Cabbage Patch. And I just made him fair skinned like me. Now he was a white doll, and I'm sure that they did not have me in mind.
What did you paint him? Marker? You colored it?
But he had red curly hair, and I had red hair, right? And so that was what I would do. I would make my dolls and just say, "Oh, this doll is a representation of me." I literally did do that at a very young age, and that's why it is important to have toys out there that look like children, right? That looks like a reflection of who they are. And so, but I just have to say that my mother continuously pouring into me saying, you are Black. Don't let anybody make you question your Blackness. If they can't see your Blackness, then shame on them. That's their problem. And she continued that. And eventually it clicked. I said, well, once I got to like high school, I was okay. I'm like, you know what? This is who I am. And I'm not going to shy away. So I might be very, very fair skinned, but I'm very, very pro-Black. and so, I mean, that's one of the ways. And I think research does support that, in order for a child to have self-esteem, they have to be able to see themselves in other things and other places and in people and in professions.
I totally agree with you.
And I think she touched on the key point there too, is like, a lot of times in our communities we're taught that, we have to work 2 times, 3 times as hard to get to the same thing and achieve those things. But also sometimes in the different settings, we're taught that, we have to be tough, we have to be this. And then we're taught. So like I said earlier, our kids will play with any and everyone. They don't care about your political affiliation or what your religious status is or what your socioeconomic status is. They're kids. Adults teach the children these type of things. And they learn from the adults. So when the adults are saying things that are negative and having the kids question themselves or whether they're worth, right? That paints a picture that's not positive. And so they're going into these school systems and they're seeing the TVs and they're seeing these things that don't necessarily show them in a positive light. So as a parental structure, you need to make sure that we're supporting and reinforcing with positive words that our kids are greater than, our kids are great, that they are intelligent, that they can do this, that they are smarter than, not the other way around.
And if the parents aren't there, I think this is where we bridge the gap.
Community.
Because we, with our company, we have positive affirmations that are on our notebooks. They say reach for the stars, right?
Yeah.
And we have characters of color on our school supplies, but then we also have a diversity notebook too, that has all ethnicities, white, Black and brown children, Muslim, and during the time, because we were heavily wearing masks, we had affirmations on their mask: love, unity, peace. And so these are ways of putting those messages out there so that these kids can, once they start to see this, then this is the way that they're actually start to believe and live their lives as well, that they see that. Reach for the stars. I know my husband talked about the superheroes, but you know what? We've got mermaids on our notebooks. They talked about, and we had Black mermaids on there before the Little Mermaid was coming out.
I gave her a hard time about that too now. So that just shows you the vision that she has.
You were made to go far, right? So we have all of these. And then we have another line that we're ready to drop that's called Brilliance is My Superpower. And you will see once that launches, a brown boy and a brown girl on the cover doing some type of chemistry experiment. And so that's going to be on the cover of the notebooks, the folders, the sticky notes, and the pencils. So that's a way of helping mold children in terms of how they view themselves, but also mold their counterparts and how they view
exactly right.
children of
Okay.
color.
We have a minute left here.
Okay.
So before we wrap this up, what I would like for you to end with, please, is let the audience know any platform where they could find your material. Like, give us your YouTube address, your website. Where can they find your stuff? Do you have any upcoming events?
Yeah.
How can we, our audience, how can we support you forward the conversation and what you're out to create? How can we support? Let us know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anybody that might live in the Midwest states, go to Meyer.
Go to Meyer.
Go to
Okay.
Meyer
Ask for our products.
and ask for our products. Shop there. Shop our products.
Notebooks.
The notebooks, they're in the notebook section, or school supplies. If they're out, say, hey, when are you gonna get those in?
Okay.
Because that's important so that we can continue to have that as an option. The other is to come to our website, shop our website, brownboybrowngirl.com. We're also on walmart.com.
Okay.
We are on Instagram and Facebook. So Brown Boy Brown Girl for
Under
Instagram.
Brown Boy Brown Girl.
Yeah, and then for Facebook is Brown Boy Brown Girl page. And then we also have a YouTube channel
TikTok.
TikTok.
And TikTok.
I'm trying to get with all the social media stuff.
Yeah.
So, and that's just Brown Boy Brown Girl as well. And one of the things that David talked about, because we're into entrepreneurship
development, junior CEO. That's a trademarks term. We develop and build junior CEOs, and it started with CEOs. And we have a junior CEO fair and conference that we partnered with Western Michigan on in October of this year. Is the goal to launch that.
Yep. So we'll have that here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where we'll have hopefully some more youth entrepreneurs joining us. And the idea behind that is to have the community to come and support their businesses.
That's it.
One of the things that we do before we leave, because we're not about just building up our own family, because you talk about impact. And one of the things that we did, we helped a young teenager get her products into the store.
Yep, that's right.
She got her products into Fresh Time.
Yep.
Okay.
And now, and she got in on the day of her graduation. So in 1 week, she graduated from high school and launched her product into the stores. But now she's scaling up to 5 to 10 stores. And she's only 19 years old. And so that's also our goal. And we're doing that through like our nonprofit, because we have Brown Boy Brown Girl Reads. There's layers to us where we are helping children and families, though, through entrepreneurship, but through the youth, because we know that world problems are normally solved by younger people, young minds.
Yes.
And so that's what we want to make sure that we nurture. And so, so we're looking forward to having that Junior CEO Business Fair and Conference in October.
All right. So thank you. We're a little over. I want to respect our viewers. No, you're great. We could do this for another an hour. I'm sure you have so much to give. And I want to just, first of all, acknowledge both of you, Teresa and Dave Baker, acknowledge you for your commitment to making a difference in, our community. That's definitely something that I believe in, and just being a stand and supporting children to develop self-love and community, just for being individuals who really want to, take action in your being, as Janelle has said, and doing something to actually make a difference in the world. And I want you to know that you are. Just seeing your products and your website, it motivated me, and I'm a grown man, and it made me go, man, I need to be doing something. I got ideas, and things like that. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come here and do this interview. And thank you very much for everything that you shared. We appreciate it. I will follow up and be in touch. I have some things that I want to just run past you and share with you. Sure. I'm always looking to build and connect with, transform people who want to make a difference in the world. I'm a heart-based business individual myself, and I can see that you're that too. 100%. So again, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you being here on Power Friday Live. And then any one last word or closing thing you want to say to the audience before we shut it down?
I just like to say that, you treat people the way that you want to be treated. And at the end of the day, become the catalyst for the type of change that you want to see within your community.
Okay.
Today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Thank you both.
Okay.
Great evening. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Goodbye.
All right.
Oh my God. Okay. I gotta capture that.